The head was always a mystery. There was no way we could know whether it was male or female.
When I started working on this, I thought it was not going to work. Nobody could get DNA from ancient Egyptian remains.
I think folks think of the FBI, that they don't think of testing 4,000-year-old mummies.
Let me take you back to 4,000 years ago, to Egypt. A local governor ruled, we think, a very important, very wealthy area, rich in farmland, and in his tomb he took with him everything that he thought he would need in the afterlife. We were fortunate to excavate that tomb in 1915. What the excavators were greeted by when they opened the tomb was a mummified head on top of a coffin. We had no idea whether it was Jehoiakim, the governor himself, or his wife, both of whom were buried in this tomb. How do you get DNA from a mummy head? Up until that time, nobody had done it. The mummy tooth made its way from New York to Israel, and nobody was able to get the DNA. A number of years after the tooth began its journey, I got an email from the FBI.
The tooth arrived at the FBI before I did. I started here in 2016, and my first project was the tooth. So when I received the tooth like this, I drilled inside the tooth, made this little powder, and with this powder I extracted the DNA, I put the DNA in solution. After that it was amplified, copied, and sequenced. The problem is that the DNA is so small that it cannot be amplified using regular techniques, so that's why we needed a new method, and that was the challenging part. The new technology we're using is actually amplifying everything that's in the extract. You need to fish out what you're interested in, basically. So you count the sequence that match, and then you use the number of sequence per chromosome to determine whether you have a male or a female.
The technique that we used on the mummy case, it's going to revolutionize our ability to characterize samples. Probably the most logical connection is missing person investigations, where oftentimes what you will have is human remains. They're not 4,000-year-old human remains, but they are skeletal elements, they are teeth, they are things that are almost directly relatable to the mummy tooth. Anything that you can think about that might have trace amounts of DNA, I think we now have a technique where we are going to be better armed to characterize that DNA.
One day, yet another email from the FBI appeared in my email box, and there it was. It was unquestionably male. And then I couldn't resist. I sent out an email and said, "It's a boy." You know, we studied the past to learn about ourselves, and the more we can make them relevant to today, the better off we all are.